as you can see, I have denim overalls in my hands. I'm finally getting back into sewing, and this is what I'm doing. I'm sewing myself some patches onto these denim overalls bought from Kmart. So because I think the legs are wide enough, I could potentially get some patches down here. Some of them might have to be done by hand, but I at least can get these started on the legs. And as I do get started on the legs of the overalls, these, as you can see, I've added a piece of cardboard. This was something I saw on the internet to help make the lines where I want to hold the fabric in when I'm doing my seams so they don't undo, and then it makes it very, very easy. You should just glide right through. So I've used some tape there, and then it actually had some grooves in it, so those would kind of work. So I just need to fold it like that, and then let it go on twice. Go a little bit with this, which is more, to me, kind of classy-ish, but because it has like a interesting background, I guess it could potentially go with these. There's no red in this, which to me, this is like 70s vibes, maybe 80s. So I might add some of this mixed in. And voila, I have cut all my fabrics. I have done 2 of every one of these 3. 2 flower ones, 2 of the ones with the little colors in it, and 2 of just the gingham. Okay, here we are with 2 squares fully done with all the edges. Though, the little bit of cardboard that I was deciding to put in, right? I ditched it because I got in my way, and the only way I could do it properly was fold it twice, but then it made it hold it in place so that I couldn't even sew. So I just went back to my old trusty ways of doing it, and it worked just fine. I went around once and then around again, so it went underneath. That is the most easiest way to do it. So I got my 2 of these. Now, as I got these 2, I got the 2 of the others, which are matching, 2, 2, 2, to do as well. So let's get those now done. And yes, I ditched the cardboard because I couldn't do what I saw on the video. It does look possible, but you're gonna have to fold and fold. So I know the best way to do it is probably by ironing, but by going around and around again works great. So I recommend around and around again if you don't want to take the time to iron. So there we go. Now all of the squares are done. I think this is the amount of squares that I want to put on my overalls. So there are that one, second one of that, and those 2. I think this might be enough. I might have to make a couple more, I'm not sure. But this is what I made at this moment in time. And like I said earlier, I do recommend, if you want to make it easy for yourself in sewing machine, sew one of the edges once, tiny as you want, do it again, and go around twice on each one, because that's much easier than trying to do what I tried to do, which was almost like a 5-minute craft thing. That didn't work for me. So that's what I recommend. I just got to figure out where I want to put these and see if I have enough of them. I'm thinking of these on the butt pockets, yes, on the back of the overalls, like I did on the vests. So I'm thinking of doing this, and I think it might have been these ones, I'm not sure, but this is what I'm going to do anyway for myself. So that's what I'm thinking. So now I got to figure out what the front will look like. Or I could do this look, just because I'm thinking I don't want 2 flower ones in the front, just because I kind of want one of each, because of all. And this might look good as well to kind of bring the front to the back, interestingly. And that one brings the colors. So the black, or I could do, if you want, well, let's see. I'm going to see what it looks like. I could do it like this. I could do it like this. I do like those 2 together, but I really don't want 2 of these flower ones in the front. So that's the only problem I am getting here. So I actually think this is good because of the colors, it brings in the color and the black. So I think I will do that. But then I have 2 of the gingham, which I actually think will be fine because I'll put one in the chest, I think, and then one at the bottom. So let's do that and see what that looks like. And yep, that's what I'm thinking for the front. And yes, I happen to forget to sew the other gingham. I was wondering why I only had 1. So that's why it looks so big. It should look about that same size as that one. Granted, a lot of this might have to be sewn by hand, which is going to be a bummer to itself. But I'm just going to have to deal with it, I guess. But yeah, that is what that's going to look like. And I think this looks good. The reason why I'm putting that on top of the gingham is because that one's going to be by itself. And then they all have kind of had the flower one with each other. So I think this is the best way to go. Looking nice, little classy, but punk feeling to it all. So finish that one, and then I'll start probably on this bottom area, because this is probably the part I can do mostly with the sewing machine. There, those two are nice and done, overlapping and all. One leg done, another one, and a pocket to go, at least for the front. Looking pretty good so far. Got my needle nice and threaded. I did try to see if I could do this pocket, as it's a big pocket, on the sewing machine, but I seem to not be able to, so I have to do it by hand, unfortunately, which I'm not fully happy about, but it looks like I can only probably do this much by hand on the denim. So if you know any way I could maybe do this in the future, trying to use a sewing machine on a pocket, let me know, and that'd be great. But because I don't seem to be able to make my sewing machine skinny enough, because I already took off the little thing that gives me some space, but I guess at least I can just chill and sew by hand. So that's what I'm gonna have to do for the rest of the front here, which is the one, and the back pockets as well. Oh well, hand sewing it is. At least all of the edges are done with the sewing machine. As you can see here, I just thought I'd show you, I am putting a knot on the surface of where I'm sewing by hand. The reason being is because the piece of fabric would be on top of it. So I'm thinking that would be more clean and less prone to having it fray and get nicked, even though the other one will be under the pocket. So I am doing a knot kind of thing. I will in a minute, that one didn't work. But yeah, I'm doing this, see? And the only reason I'm on the outside of it and not trying to hide it underneath is because it's going to be underneath the fabric that's getting sewn on top. This is a typical thing I do when I know there's going to be a piece of fabric put on top. So now I'm just taking it and the needle and I'm putting it through the thing. 1 or 2 knots. I might do 2. At least the pocket's nice and big so I can get my hand up in there. That's a kind of bonus, which is nice. So I'm going to do it twice just to be on the safe side, because I like to do 2 times usually. And there we go. I have made it look nice and clean. So now we are ready to bring in the piece of fabric to sew on to this pocket. Yes, that's right. I might have put this too much to that side though. That's the only problem. I might have screwed myself a little bit. I think I may have. Look, I screwed myself. I'm gonna have to cut this off and redo it because this is way too on the side. I forgot how small this was. Because I was trying to gauge, I only want that much space from this, but it's gonna have to be a lot more because this is smaller. So, oh well, that's okay. Just redo what I did, same exact thing, but redo it, and this should be all good. And there we go, now it is on. I did go through the fabric first, through the back, and then behind where it's going to be fully protected, where I tied it, I then tied it off, as you saw before, even though the last one was in the wrong spots. So now all I gotta do is go back, forth, and hopefully don't need to make another one until I do another square. So now let's get into sewing this bad boy of it all. I'm getting fed up doing this by hand with my fingers, within thread and needle. I'm trying to do at least some of this on the pocket. Like, why can't I? I'm pushed the fabric out of the way, really bunched it up. So now I'm gonna try to sew this on. This is the pocket in the front, right on the chest area that needs to be done. And I'm getting so fed up with, what's the point of a sewing machine if I can't do this? It's like, granted, it's probably put on before, maybe the piece put on, I don't know, but I'm DIYing this thing. So let's do this thing and actually get it on the pocket. Well, there we go. I got the front nice and done. The pocket was very, very, very hard. Yes, it was very hard to do. So there's a little bunching in the pocket area on it, but I think it gives a character anyway. So I did some of it by hand, did some of it with the sewing machine. Only thing though, because I did it with the sewing machine, and maybe I don't know how to bunch up as well, this is kind of thing, I think it bent the needle. So I had to put a new needle on, but I have to potentially maybe put a too big of a needle, so it keeps breaking the thread, I think. I don't know. All I know is that at least I was able to do a hybrid of the two, bunch it up in such a way, knowing that it would probably flatten anyway somewhat. So there it is. All we gotta do now is the pockets, and this thing is officially done. But oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do what I did with the pocket up here, because this was a much bigger pocket. But at least I have gotten the front done as of now. So here we go with all of this done, and as I was irritated doing the hand sewing with a needle and thread, I am going to just make these pockets just for show on the back. So let me just get those on, and that shouldn't take me too long, hopefully, if I can get the right size needle and my thread doesn't keep snapping on the sewing machine, but at least it'll be a lot faster. And bam, they are fully on my back patches of it all to the awesome front ones. I'm debating if I should do a belt made out of knitting. Yep, my overalls with the patches. I have decided to go along and add the belt, and I thought maybe two colors of blue together would look nice, like I showed you. Where I want to put it is because there's a line here, fabric, that could be a belt, and then a separate one on the back as well. So that is what I'm going to do, because it really needs something. So I'm definitely going to do that. I got my handy dandy needles and all that greatness. So all I got to do is take this, take that, go like this, go like that. Make sure I'm holding both of them and get my first stitch done. So there it is, and that's what I'm going to do, and make a small belt. One stitch to the next as I knit back and forth, looking good. Now it's even longer. Oh yes, getting close to my belt of knitting being done. I have now made the belt part to add to my overalls. As I was looking at them, they definitely need some more added, so I'm going to add some these for the belt parts in the middle of the denim. Yep, right there, where it looks like a perfect belt. But of course, I have two, because one in the back, one in the front, so the buttons are still usable. And with that, I'm probably going to add some more patches as well, but let's just see what I have. But first, we need to add the belt part that I have now nice and knitted made. And as you can see, the front one is shorter in length, and the back one is longer in length. So I got them nice and ready. Sew on. Oh yes, oh yes. With the belt, I am now adding it on, and I'm sewing it by hand, as I tried the brother sewing machine of mine, which works great. I did slightly bend the needle, so I had to put a new one on, but that's okay. I do have a handful of them, so now I know when something's thick like this, I can't, with all the crevices, making it so it goes boing, 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 if that makes any sense. So we're going to sew this on by hand. I got the needle nice and on there. So I've sewn this part right here so far. So I just got to go in the back here, take my needle that you can see with the black thread, and just keep going. And I've already tucked in the end that happens when you sew, because I don't know how to make loose ends disappear when I'm sewing, or I mean knitting, you know, like people do when they make jumpers and stuff, or like, I don't know another word for it, sweaters. So yeah, so I'm just doing this as I go down the side. It does take longer, but it's more of a satisfying kind of sewing by hand than what I was having to do with the pockets, and why I made myself try to use a sewing machine. But at least with the pockets, there's none of these crevices and things that it wants to like really cling on to, or really hard to get through for itself. So I just have to kind of see what I can do, which it's a lot thinner of a fabric around where those are. So that's beside the point. So yeah, I'm just getting that in. Ow! I did not mean to poke myself. I hate that. That's why I don't like to do this by hand much. But it's okay. It's okay. All I'm doing is getting that through. See? And doing it. So now I just got to get the rest on as I do the first of the 2 pieces of the belt. And of course, keeping the belt loop open so it's usable. I mean belt loop, I mean the loop for the button. But yeah. I got this one machine, did say I was going to do this by hand, and I did do one side. But as I see, this one is overlapping the thick part with all the crevices that make the needle potentially not be able to go through on the sewing machine. I'm pretty sure I can do it because it's on the thinner denim. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm sewing it on because it's going to go over it anyway. And it's going in without me having to hold this up like that, which is a good thing. So, whoops. Well, that's what I'm going to do. So let's sew this bad boy on with the sewing machine now because that is going to work. And yep, like I thought, I could do it with sewing machine. Even though throughout I was sewing, it was snapping the thread. So I just had to keep putting it back in. But I did go back on myself to make sure that it was going to stay and not be undone. So that's what I did if it snapped. So at least I was able to troubleshoot it and just as it snapped, put it back in, keep sewing and all that. So it definitely being that is good. So that is nice and done. I just have a tiny bit to do here that I'm pretty sure I should just do by hand because of being on the thick part with all those lineages, which makes it too complicated for at least the sewing machine I have, but still a great sewing machine. So now all I gotta do is the back. But what I could potentially do, as it is stretchy, I might take it and make it go on this and then on that as well, because I think it might be wide enough that I could potentially do on both of the edges. So if I can do that, then I will be able to sew it more by hand, and maybe I just have to leave the parts that are actually right on this to do by hand, and that's just a tiny bit of sewing. So yeah, there we go. We just have the second to last one to add, and that's what it looks like in the front. I think that's kind of fun. Yes, granted, it does kind of blend in because I picked color scheme that's the blue of the denim. So but it does give it a little bit of something, if I do say so. And there we are. The belt is fully done. I even did the little bits I had to do by hand and everything. I'm just glad I was able to use the sewing machine to finish it, to do it as well. So yeah, if you have any problems like I did, just do it slow and steady, and sometimes you just have to keep adding the thread back in. But at least it was done. This would not be done right now if I couldn't use the sewing machine to do it. So if you do have problems with the parts where it's thick and has the ribs like this in the denim, if you're using denim and you have any problems, then go away from it where it's the flatter, thinner denim area, and then it's not too bad and all that. But you do have to kind of know how the sewing machine works. So there is that as well. So yeah, all in all, this looks really, really good. I think I might add some more patches in some way. So that's the last thing I need to do is the last bits of patches, because I was going to go really crazy with this. But that's the belt, giving it a little of something. And yep, as you can see now, fully finished. I didn't add any more patches. I just left it the way that it is. So this is the look, all nice and finished in an outfit. I even have my handmade denim bag with it. Looking good this way, that way, and everything. Yep, all the patches to it all. to the start of the knitting. One stitch to the next, to the next, and the next, and the next. There we go. Looking good if I do say so myself.